John Roberts stole your line, Rudy Giuliani, because you were just saying before the segment that nothing that Donald Trump says seems to affect his ratings.
There are different rules. I think what's going on here, now I'm guessing, because if you're attacking somebody who's 75, 80% approval rating in a state.
George W. Bush.
Right, and loved in South Carolina. And attacking him, calling him a liar, should have known or might have known about September 11, or at least should have known, it has to hurt you. Unless people really aren't paying attention to what you're saying. They're paying attention to your style. Combative, against the establishment. I think that's what's happening. I think what America wants is somebody who is a fighter, who is fighting back. No matter who he's fighting,
sure,
he's fighting back. And he has put Bush on the defensive. So he's gotten Bush off message. And whether it's the right message or not substantively, he's leading the charge.
Sure, but, it's not helping Jeb Bush. Trump's at almost 40, and Bush is at 4, which is 1/10 that. There's also a brand new Quinnipiac poll, Mayor, came out 1 hour ago. This is national. Trump is at 39. As you can see right there, Rubio is in second place, followed by Cruz. They're the only 3 in double digits. Kasich, Bush, and Carson are all in single digits.
Well, I mean, the good news for Donald is he's got a big lead in both places. The bad news for Donald is if that stays that way, and Rubio remains number 2 in South Carolina and nationally, all of a sudden those other candidates are going to start dropping out, and a lot of that vote behind Donald is going to go to the let's call it, I don't know, I hate to call him an establishment candidate.
But he's a Tea Party senator.
Yeah, he's a Tea Party senator who's an establishment candidate. But a lot of that vote's going to go that way, and it's going to become a much closer race.
Yeah, and to your point of trying to make some room in that so-called establishment lane, we had former House Speaker Newt Gingrich on earlier. We listened to a soundbite of him. He said just because people start dropping out wouldn't necessarily mean that all of the support would go onto an establishment candidate.
Right.
Some of it could go to Donald Trump, too.
That's
so
right.
is there one candidate you see that could stop the Trump train if everybody did rally around him?
Well, I think Rubio is probably one of the stronger candidates. I mean, when you look at his one bad performance in the debate, all the rest of it absolutely terrific. He's got a lot going for him. He's probably the best speaker. He's probably the most charismatic. And I think that'd be a heck of a race. I think it'd be a stronger race than Cruz and Trump.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, real quick, I got to just bring it back if I could. On 9/11, no one knows this better than you about the attack, the magnitude of it. Do you look at President Bush and say, you missed it, it's your fault, it happened to you? Or do you disagree with Donald Trump?
Donald is a very good friend of mine. Who knows? I may end up supporting him for president. If he's a nominee of the party, I might support him even before that. I don't know. Well, what he said about President Bush is absolutely wrong. And I know national intelligence. Several times I've held very, very high national security clearances in the Justice Department. You'd have to be looking for a needle in a haystack and putting the 3 needles together in order to figure out 9/11. It is not President Clinton's fault. It is not President Bush's fault. It's the fault of the guys who did it. It's the fault of bin Laden. After 9/11, I hold you accountable for not seeing these things. And I said it that day. I don't hold you accountable before it happened, because nobody anticipated that kind of attack or that capability from bin Laden. Nobody. Here's my words about President Bush. I said them that day as I got out of a building where I almost got killed. I grabbed Bernie Kerik's arm and I said, thank God George Bush is the President of the United States. Exactly the words Rubio used a few days ago. And what I meant by that is what Rubio went on to say after that. And thank God Al Gore isn't.
There you go.
And that's exactly what I meant. It's in my book. Yep. And I said it in the keynote address in 2004 here in New York.
Let's talk a little bit about terrorism. Out in San Bernardino, that husband and wife killed all those people at that municipal building. Now, a federal judge has ordered, at the request of the FBI, is ordering Apple to build a new iPhone so that it could be a workaround existing encryption software. Apple says they're not going to do it. It is dangerous. They've got a court order, and Apple says no. They said, we've got a statement right here. Tim Cook, the CEO, says this: the U.S. government has asked us for something we simply do not have and something we consider too dangerous to create. They've asked us to build a backdoor to the iPhone. What do you say?
What I say is national security trumps their worries about that. And I blame this to some extent on Rand Paul and Ted Cruz. and the ridiculous hysteria they created about privacy and the government, trying to take the information for improper purposes. The government had all of this information from all of these telephone calls in its possession for years. Never abused that power once.
The metadata.
Under Bush or Obama, they can't point to a single abuse. I had in my office when I was a U.S. attorney thousands and thousands of pages of top secret information and wiretap information. Not a single piece of it ever leaked. The government is scrupulous with this information, and we need this. And time is of the essence. I think you made the point earlier. Suppose sitting in there is a bombing that we would be warned about that's going to go off today, but we get the information 3 days from now. Then somebody's going to come along and say, oh, we should have known about it.
But what's different about this is that a judge has given a court order, crack open the phone, and they say no.
Well, they should go to jail.
Right. What if it's Tim?
Well, they should call it contempt.
Right. What if Tim Cook's family was targeted and the answer's on that phone?
Yeah. Well,
would he feel differently?
Yeah, he goes sneak in. He goes sneak in no matter what the judge said. I mean, it's ridiculous that the government has to be put in a position where if they have information about a possible attack, we waste a second. Because that could be the second that kills somebody. When you look at Benghazi, the big excuse they have is we didn't have enough time. Well, first of all, that's nonsense. They had 14, 15 hours. That's plenty of time. But the reality is time is of the essence when you're talking about the possibility of a terrorist attack.
Sure.
And there is no evidence on the other side of abuse by the government. You'd have to show me situations where the government abused that power before you put an impediment in front of them.
All right. Mayor, thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
It's great to have you.